My point is just the fact that it's something that we can create in mass.
And we don't have to import.
It.
I agree. Like I said before in like some of our last ones, energy diversity.
Yeah.
Cannot be relying on just one source of energy and calling it good. Cannot just turn everything to EV. Can't just turn everything to gas. Can't turn everything to ethanol.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have that diversity, especially where we can proudly use more ethanol and we know it's made here, it's our money stays here.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we not doing that more?
From Olympic City and the home of Pikes Peak, this is the Automotive ADHD Show with Matt West.
So I'm really excited for today's show. This is going to be a really cool one because we're going to do things a little differently, but we are going to talk about what is going on with the fuel supply chain, specifically because as a nation, we are going to be making a temporary switch from E10 fuel to E15. Now, that's relating to the percentage of ethanol in the gasoline that's mixed into it. And that's being done to combat some of the supply chain issues happening as a result of the conflict in the Middle East. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth on whether this is a good idea or not. And I wanted to discuss this, not just by myself, though, but with someone who I think really can add a whole lot to this. If you've listened to the show for any length of time, you recognize Brian, or sometimes as we call him, OBD1 Kenobi. He's a career mechanic, and he also runs an automotive tuning business here in Colorado. And I think he has for one, he's a really smart dude, knows a lot about everything automotive, whether it's tuning, wiring, or mechanical stuff. But I think he's got an interesting take on this. And I want to make the case for the argument not being E10 versus E15, but rather being E10 versus E85. Now, I'm not saying we switch to E85 altogether, but I think the nation is still sleeping on E85. If you're in the performance world, you undoubtedly know the performance benefits, but you also know some of the caveats, some of the trade-offs that happen with ethanol. But the rest of the world is still sleeping on this when we're heading into a fuel supply crisis, right? Well, we got this amazing source of fuel that, again, no one really seems to care all that much about outside of the car world. So we'll see if Brian agrees with my take on it there. And like I said, we're doing things a little differently. If you listen to the radio show often, this is going to sound different because we are doing this long form with Brian. We're packing up the show, going to his home shop, and we're going to do this in 2 long form sections. So this first part is going to be all about fuel, tuning for fuel, ethanol as a whole. And then the second part's going to be about the tuning industry, stuff that Brian thinks maybe other tuners could do better, and maybe things he also wishes customers could do before they bring him a car. Oh, and I think we'll manage to squeeze in a discussion on right to repair. All of that's coming up right here. It's the Automotive ADHD Show. Let's talk to Brian right now. Some of the things, because you, in addition to wrenching on cars, you do a lot of things to cars with ECUs and fuel maps and stuff like that. And I don't think the EPA listens to my show, so I think we'll be okay to discuss whatever we want. So good. If you're an EPA fed listening to the show, you can just turn it off right now. You don't have to listen to it.
It's off-road use only, I swear.
Off-road use only.
We're off the road.
Yeah, track use. Forgot that too. Track use. So we'll discuss tuning and more. All of that is coming up on this edition of the Automotive ADHD Show. Now, Brian, before we get to that, we're here in your garage, and you got this Cougar sitting back here. And I mean the car, not like, anyway.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. That you were thinking that? Okay. I was thinking of a different kind of Cougar, but
you need a girlfriend.
So when I think of like the cars you've tuned all sorts of stuff, Skylines, Supras, all the fun JDM stuff. You've helped me tune my S2000. You've done my 86 back when that was running. Now that stopped running, but through no fault of your own, because I got a good offer on the engine and then I took it out and then I bought another one. So we're going to have to tune the new engine that's in there. But you've done a lot of stuff, and at least in Colorado Springs, you are, I think, well-known in the tuning world here now, because you've done a lot of fun projects.
I wouldn't say well-known.
I think you're well-known. I know you.
You know me well.
I know you well. I think you're underselling yourself here. But having said that, the thing that I don't picture when you're working on Skylines, you're working on Supras, it's this Cougar. Like, this is your car?
That is my car.
That is your car.
That is my car.
What year Cougar is this?
It's a 68.
1968. It is, if you're watching on audio, because that's how that works, if you're watching on audio only, this is a bright gold metallic flake with the vinyl top. You've got original looking wheels on this. I don't know if these are original to it, but they're period correct. And
I do believe they're original.
You do believe they are?
I'm pretty sure everything on this car is original.
Okay.
There isn't, I mean, besides some of the things I've done, obviously, to update it, it's basically all old stuff.
So when people think about, because, you know, whenever you go out to car meets and people interact with you, you're always helping people with other cars. And again, it's always tuner stuff. You know, it's like JDM stuff. I think people aren't expecting that one of your personal cars is this. Aside from Volvos, you got a Volvo problem. I don't know what's going on with that. You got a real problem with Volvos.
There's a Volvo sitting above it.
Yeah, on the rack there. It's
dripping oil on it too.
You should probably do something about that.
I'm working on it.
Or don't. I mean, that's fine too. So this is a 1968 Cougar. That's a 289 in that, correct? Not a 302?
Yep, 289.
289. Now, if I'm correct, this was your dad's car originally.
Yeah, it actually, it's really hard to do anything to it really because it's sort of a time capsule. Mm-hmm. And I know if you look on the front of the car, there's some pictures back when he worked for the DOD. So it's got like Peterson Air Force stickers on it, and I think Schriever on there too.
Oh yeah, like little stickers to get in at the gate.
Yeah, one of them says 98. So I like to leave that on there just as like part of the time capsule of when he used to work for contracting.
Yeah. And so that's cool with this car. Now, this Cougar as well, one of the things that I loved about it when I saw it was it's got the sequential taillights.
Yeah, they're a bit of a pain in the butt to work.
They're the OG. You see sequential taillights all the time on cars now. All the time, right? Mustangs have it, but like every car's got some kind of sequential-esque taillight nowadays. Back in the day on this was a mechanically actuated sequential taillight. I had no idea until seeing your car that these were actually mechanically actuated.
Oh yeah, there's not really any electronics in this car. I think my dad, I remember claiming that the only thing that had like a transistor maybe in it was the radio, which is purely AM. Mm-hmm. It does have a updated optical trigger, so the points distributor is gone for liability purposes. But other than that, it's still carbureted. There's really nothing in it other than just pure mechanical 60 stuff.
I love it. And it's a great looking car. So now beyond your Cougar here, again, referring to the car, beyond that, you've got a lot of Volvo stuff you do as well. You do a whole lot of Volvo stuff. And I mean, it's like for all the years I've known you, I've always seen you doing Volvo stuff. And also for some reason, every car you touch ends up having Volvo parts on it somehow.
Yeah, that is a weird...
How does that happen?
I'm not sure.
Like every car somehow has some little Volvo part that makes its way into there.
I think they stick to my clothes and just fall off when I walk by.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. That's what I heard falling on the floor when you walked by. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. And so now, so people can get familiar with you. I mean, you've been on my show before, but it's been a little while since we've had you on the show. And so people can get familiar with you. I mean, obviously you've been a career mechanic. Now you really foray into this business where you tune cars, you do a lot of fun stuff with those cars. And you were the person who tipped me off to Russ EFI.
Yeah.
Now, if you've been listening to the show recently, I had Andre from Russ EFI on the show. Actually, not once, but twice now to talk about a couple of his different things. We did sort of an introduction with him on the first show. And then the second show, we really talked about the development that has gone into that Russ EFI and also his 8 HP transmission control stuff. Now, if anyone is here in the Springs, in Colorado Springs, and wants a Russ EFI on their car, I have a feeling you know how to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of those things that they should want a Russ EFI on their car.
I was trying forever to get you and Andre to hook up.
I know. Now we're best buds. We're basically married now. Did you miss the wedding? No.
I haven't got a chance to finish the other episode.
Oh,
I only got like the first, I think, 10 minutes in.
This guy comes on my show and hasn't listened to all of my shows.
I was listening. I was eating.
You're banned from the show. You got to get. This show's over now. I heard you put your kid to sleep with my show.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if I should be proud of that or if I should be a little concerned that that's his way of getting to sleep. I'm not sure how to feel about that. Does it work?
It did.
It did. Until we started. We're disrupting his sleep, so we got to talk quiet now.
I'd play it during bath time.
Bath time? My show's a bath time show now. I see how it is. But getting back to Russ EFI. So you got me really tipped off to Russ EFI. I really like the product, the Russ EFI stuff. The S2000's on it. It's running great. So the K24 swap in there. And with the fuel prices, I'm getting ready to put my flex fuel sensor in it. And we're going to discuss that. So we are going to get to that here on the program in a little bit. But have you seen, as someone who does a lot of kind of grassroots tuning work, helps a lot of people with different project cars, whether that's, like entry-level stuff or also like really crazy builds. You've done a little bit of everything, and you've been working on, I don't know if I can say it, but there was one car that you've been working on that's allegedly going to SEMA at some point too.
Yeah, it's the Super Hatch. Well, we'll see if it actually goes.
We'll see, because it's a SEMA car.
Yeah, it's been a few years just trying to get that thing running. Finally, it's running.
Okay,
and it's getting pieced together. That's really not my part of it, though. I just
did the
flat six.
Flat six. Ooh, see, you know what? That also brings us to another point here, which is your flat six swap Subaru, which I love that
horrible
car. It looks terrible, but I love that car.
I love it too, but it looks terrible. I really need to put some money into that thing.
Oh man. So
but it always runs.
That's one of the things. That car runs, and it sounds like a baby Porsche. It just sounds, that's one of the things when you hear a Subaru. Okay, if you're picturing this, and we might roll some B-roll of it, it's a GC hatch that sounds like a Porsche 911 and spits fire.
Oh yeah,
spits a lot of fire.
Yeah,
we'll put that clip here.
And I've been on the fence for like the past 2 years of whether I'm gonna do some power adder to it, and then something else comes on.
See, I think that you mentioned that. You've definitely got the more cars than friends problem. You've definitely got that. Now, if people are curious about that, on this show, we have the More Cars Than Friends hoodies and now the More Cars Than Friends stickers as well. Of course, tying back into a key Jim Millerism, because I think he is the
Millerism.
Yeah, he is the key of, or he is the king rather, of having more cars than friends. But I mean, you're catching up to Jim with Volvos and.
You're making me think of Trailer Park Boys, the Rickyisms.
The Rickyisms?
The Rickyisms.
Yeah. No, that's a Jim Millerism. By the way, if you do want a Jim Miller More Cars Than Friends sticker, I am giving those away. And all you need to do is email me, matt@automotiveadhd.com. Tell me what your favorite car is, and then say I love Jim Miller's Mustang. And then you give me a mailing address too. So I can actually, send it to you. I need to know where to send it. And I'll send you Jim Miller More Cars Than Friends sticker. So, Brian, circling over to this now, we need to talk about fuel, okay? So fuel is the thing that makes our cars run. It's the thing that makes us happy. It's the thing that makes pops and bangs happen. And it's getting more expensive. I've covered on this show recently some of the situation around the Hormuz Strait, why that impacts us as car guys, why that's impacting the rest of the world. I'm also going to do something fairly soon on why is it actually affecting us when we have domestic oil production. That's a big thing, and I'm going to do a feature on that here coming up soon. But what is happening now, the news on this, and I want your take on it as a mechanic, but also as a tuner, and this comes by way of Lee Zeldin, his EPA, and granted, we do like Lee Zeldin being the EPA administrator on this show, because prior to Lee Zeldin, the EPA was very anti-car. you got to remember, Lee Zeldin was the guy who now has done a number of things, including killing the start-stop switch or the start-stop mandate.
Oh, thank God.
So as far as EPA administrators go, I think he's doing pretty good. Now, he still works for the EPA, though. So, I mean, I don't know how far he can get away with pulling all this stuff out of the EPA that's just anti-car, that just makes cars more expensive, that makes cars more complicated. But so far, Lee Zeldin has a good track record, and his EPA announced that they're, quote, approving nationwide E15, and they are pitching it as a, quote, fortifying the domestic fuel supply. So what this means is most gasoline here in the United States is up to, you'll see this on the gas pump, it may include up to 10% ethanol. What's happening now is they're going to approve, the EPA is approving the addition of more ethanol in the fuel. Now, I've heard this positioned in headlines as, quote, diluting the fuel, which, yes, you're technically diluting the gasoline, but you're also diluting the gasoline with ethanol, which is in of itself an octane booster in this case. And the EPA is basically saying that gasoline can include, again, up to 15% ethanol. Now, sometimes in some places, from what I understand, this can happen in the wintertime. They use it a higher percentage. This is supposed to be a nationwide thing, specifically through the springtime here. They're saying this is going to go into effect May 1st and at least run through May 20th. So it's not a long waiver, but I suspect it may run a bit longer than that. Now,
I can see where this could be an issue.
Okay. And what is your take on that higher ethanol content when it comes to regular cars?
So I'll try to make this short as I can. If any of y'all are career mechanics, you know that pretty much every car you've worked on now has what we call closed loop, short-term and long-term fuel trim windows. And a lot of cars, even to this day, still aren't equipped with ethanol content sensors. And if they are, it's made obvious with some sort of badging that says like flex fuel in the back or something like that. The reason why I could see this being an issue is the additional content of ethanol will further increase the fueling requirements for a car to run at its original rate. And if you think about it, the reason your short-term and long-term fuel trim exist is for the malbehavior of whether it be environmental factors or sensors or mechanical changes and differences as car ages or experiences different environments. I mean, there's probably some other things you could say too. So cars that have fuel trims that are already close to the tolerance window of whichever direction it can go, whether it be lean or rich, might experience that window being pushed over, get check engine lights for short-term fuel trim codes, long-term fuel trim codes, and they will quickly find themselves trying to go to the shops, trying to either find what's causing this, and other than the fuel obviously causing a huge disruption in the fuel trim, any type of like intake leaks, oil trap leaks. We've seen that, dirty throttle bodies, poor injector flow, all that stuff will just even be more hyper-focused. So I could see that being an issue. Right. But I mean, and we're also talking about cars on the threshold.
Yeah.
So
now, what does that ethanol do when you introduce that into the fuel, right? So when you're adding higher contents of ethanol, what's happening with that fuel? Because a lot of people are already aware that ethanol is going to be less efficient in that you need to burn more of it.
Well, I'm not entirely familiar right now with everything, but I'm not like an expert. But it does require more fuel to be burned. It does produce more carbon dioxide. However, I think overall tailpipe emissions are generally safer, in my opinion, because there's a lot less like soot, no black smoke. The tailpipe's cleaner. It smells better.
That's the thing about it. If you've never been around cars with ethanol, now granted, if you're listening to the show, you probably have been, but if you're around a car with ethanol, the exhaust actually smells good. Like it smells sweet.
Yeah, it doesn't like stick to your clothes. Now at E15, I don't think it's considerable enough for you to notice.
Right.
But like running full ethanol is honestly quite nice as far as like your overall health feels. No exhaust smell of like old cars. It runs better in the engine. Engine appreciates it more. You will get a lot of people that complain about, eating rubber hoses, stuff like that. It's about as aggressive as anything else is. It just dries stuff out. And also aging, like it's sitting in the vehicle. I really haven't had that much trouble with it though. I've had a couple cars that sat with ethanol for a good amount of time and they were fine. I think it's just more of a case basis depending on how the fuel system in each car is made.
Well, and I think to that point, a lot of people say pre-2001 is what you typically hear as the cutoff. And I understand where some of that comes from. There was a study, it was the EPA did a study back in the early 2000s to see, what cars were most affected. Now, not every car pre-2001 is going to be affected, but they kind of found 2001 as the threshold of where most cars are not going to have issues with higher ethanol contents. And I can see that, though it does obviously extend a little bit to older cars. A great example of this is my AE86. We ran that car on ethanol for several years.
With no issue.
And bear in mind,
nothing failed in the fuel system. And I think it had the stock fuel pump too,
stock
the
fuel
whole
pump,
time.
Stock fuel lines. I didn't change anything. All we did was I put ethanol in the tank and I said, okay, Brian, let's tune it for ethanol now. And I'm pretty sure we were cruising around and it was like a spur of the moment thing. Like, let's put the car in ethanol.
Yeah, we were just bored.
Yeah, and granted, I didn't even have a flex fuel sensor in it then. So I was just like, nope, the car's straight ethanol now. Let's do the tune for ethanol. But the point being, and actually, if I go back into my A86's owner's manual, it actually talks about certain amounts of ethanol content being acceptable. Now, that car at the time, ethanol being introduced into the gasoline was a fairly new thing. But it did talk about that. So at least with, say, older Toyotas, with my limited sample size of one, it was fine. So the notion that I've seen this online in certain crowds that the higher ethanol content is going to destroy your pre-2001 car, I think is a little far-fetched.
It's pretty far-fetched. I mean, Noah had a blue 240 Volvo that we did all the things to, including ethanol.
Had a turbo
content
too, if I remember.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Yeah.
I remember letting it sit for like 9 months with ethanol in it, and we're like, oh man, this thing's not going to start. It fired on the first try.
Wow.
And it never messed up a fuel line, although we did have a little cap break, but that wasn't because of the ethanol. It was because it wasn't reinforced and it was experiencing high fuel pressure and the gasoline ate it.
That makes sense. Now, one of the things to consider is ethanol is going to be a fuel that is hydroscopic. It's going to attract water as opposed to being hydrophobic.
Yes.
And that's one of the things to consider. There are trade-offs with anything you do here. There are trade-offs. Ethanol is going to be hydroscopic. It's going to attract water. And now, granted, in our climate at least, this being Colorado, we're an arid, high mountain desert. Right? We don't have a lot of humidity in the air in the first place. I have never seen an issue with water in ethanol up here in any ethanol car.
I honestly, if you think about it, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just totally guessing. We have had issues with water pollution in tanks that causes cars to stop running because it'll settle to the bottom of the tank or whatever. Because gasoline, it's like hydrophobic.
Yeah,
it doesn't like to mix with water.
Well, that and also the density of it's quite different too.
Yeah.
So you have that to think about as well. Now, there are ways to obviously get water in your gasoline too.
So at least if you get a little bit of water in your ethanol, at least it'll mix evenly and go through.
Yeah.
Rather than fill the entire fuel line randomly and then the car stops running.
Hydrolock the car immediately.
We definitely had that happen where a car accidentally gets exposed to water in the fuel tank and then it'll run fine and then you drive or it settles when you park on a hill or something and go to start it, fills the whole fuel line with water, and then the car just won't start. And then you're sitting there like, why won't this thing start? And then it gets towed and it's a lengthy bill for cleaning out a fuel tank.
Right. I think as a whole, and when I've seen other cars out here in Colorado, but when you interact with people from other states, I mean, running ethanol, specifically if we think about running E85, I have seen very little issues when it comes to water contamination with E85. Now, if this has happened to you, if you're listening to this, you've had a water contamination issue.
We'd love to hear about it.
Please let us know. But I personally haven't seen it. And I've seen all sorts of people in the car world and the car scene running ethanol all the time. Now, bear in mind how this is tying back into this E15 argument. I'm talking about, I've seen people running E85 all the time with very little issue. And that's an even higher content of ethanol. That's 85% ethanol versus E15 being 15% ethanol. So, take that with how you will. But the fact being that, the E15 being introduced into the fuel, I think is, again, when we got a lot of people running E85 without running into many of these issues, I don't think the E15 is going to be a big issue. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think the only issue, which is probably irrelevant, would just be cold starting. And even at E15, I don't think that would be an issue.
Yeah. Well, and one other thing to consider, because I know someone's going to be angrily punching in the comments or writing me an email. Yeah, but Matt, it's less efficient. Well, yes, it's technically less efficient, right? You see with E85, at least, that's about 30%, 30 to 33% less efficient.
If it's truly E85, I believe it's like 33%. Okay. Something like that. I think it runs up to.
Yep.
I don't have the math in front of me, but it's usually about 33% more fuel, 35% more fuel. But there is trade-offs. If you have a motor built high compression or a turbo motor, especially turbo motors love it, they can take much more advantage of the benefits of ethanol or compared to a standard engine. Mm-hmm. So, yes, you are burning more ethanol, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not less efficient.
Right. I get you.
If that makes sense.
That does. And when you're burning more, obviously when you're doing an E85 car, you're putting a lot and you're doing a tune for it. Part of that comes with putting more fuel into the tune.
We're not shooting for efficiency on those cars.
No.
So yeah, we're going to get 100 miles to the tank. The Subaru makes 220 wheel maybe, and it gets 100 miles to the tank.
I remember with the A86, and this was back, again, when it had the 4A GE blacktop with the ITBs, a little different now. But at that time, that car went from, when I was on pump gas, I could actually get 30-ish miles to the gallon with how I drive. And then that tanked down to at least, again, and don't quote me on the math, I'm just remembering kind of what I was seeing, but definitely low 20s on that car.
Yeah. Obviously, most of the time there may not be a benefit money-wise, but it's good on the motor.
Yep.
And
that's because it burns cooler.
Yeah, right? In certain circumstances, like we experienced a few years ago where the ethanol price drops dramatically, all of a sudden it's pocket change to drive your car on ethanol.
Well, and without getting too political, and this show steers clear of politics unless they're directly affecting us as car guys. And then we get really engaged with political advocacy, trying to protect car enthusiasts, trying to protect the cars we love. But one of the things people are completely ignoring is the fact people are complaining about the current administration right now and the price of fuel as it relates to the Hormuz Strait. People are also ignoring the fact that gas got near this high, if not higher, during the last administration. Remember that the huge fuel prices we were seeing a few years ago was that other guy. It was Biden. It was that other guy. And
diet.
I know. I guess the ice cream machines ran out of ice cream. I don't know. But having said that, that's one thing I think people are really quick to criticize right now. Whereas before the war in Iran, we had record low gas prices, 4-year lows. I had talked about that on the show. I had covered that. And now we've got gas prices climbing again. And the thing is, the difference this time too, is it's climbing for a lot of other countries too. It's not just the United States, but people here in the United States critical of the administration on that one point are, again, kind of people have a very short-term memory here. They're forgetting that gas got that expensive a few years ago too under Biden. And when that happened, that's when we were cruising around in the 86. You were helping me out with the tune. And I said, yeah, let's do ethanol. I think you actually joked about it first. Why don't we just go put some ethanol in it?
Let's see what happens.
And I was like, okay, let's see what happens. Yeah. And one of the things that happened at that point, if you're comparing ethanol at, I believe it was $1.75 a gallon. I remember it was in that price range.
I could have sworn during COVID it dropped to $1 or less.
It was, during COVID. During COVID, it got
so
really
cheap
low
to drive on ethanol.
It was. But when we saw fuel prices spike during the Biden administration, And we were seeing at least here in Colorado, $4.95, $5, $5.10 a gallon for premium. Bear in mind, again, we're talking enthusiast cars. So you're high compression or you're boosted. In my case, I was NA, but high compression. And I need that additional octane. I need that even here at altitude. And the ethanol made a ton of sense because at $1.75 a gallon versus $5 a gallon. Don't quote me on the math. I don't have it here, but I believe even though the ethanol was 33% less efficient, I wasn't paying 33%. The difference in cost wasn't 33%. It was much bigger than 33%. So in that case, I was actually saving a considerable amount of money. And I remember at that time, that's probably when I street drove the 86 more than ever, just because it was cheap.
That's how you get the flex and flexibility with ethanol.
There you go. And flexing on people with flex fuel. Oh, man. Now, Brian, what do you think? Here's an idea. With gas prices the way they are, what if we just start doing ethanol? Do you think more people should do straight ethanol builds or flex fuel?
I personally love it because it smells less. I think from that standpoint, I think it's just a lot nicer on the senses, especially with other people around. A lot of people enjoy that. I mean, I get comments all the time when I'm driving the Cougar and the girlfriend's like, oh my God, you smell like just pure exhaust gas, like exhaust fumes. It smells terrible. But you don't get that in the Subaru.
That's true.
And it can run in the garage a little bit. I mean, I'm not like I'm running it with the door closed, but
yeah,
I can leave it running with the door open in the garage and my eyes aren't bleeding out.
Right. No, and that makes sense. And when you look at doing ethanol on a car, a lot of times you're going to need something like a standalone ECU to maybe make that work. Not always, but
I've definitely joked about just putting injectors on a car that are just the right size bigger and seeing if you can get a car
without doing
to behave
with
bigger injectors with flex. But assuming we had like a car that didn't have flex fuel, it's on standard ECM, there's nothing done to it. If we could just get injectors that are just the right size bigger and then fill it with E85 and make sure you go to a consistent gas station, because another thing people don't realize with E85 is that it's never truly E85, depending on where you go.
E78.
Like if I hit the Maverick, it might be 63%. If you're hitting the Alta, they're going to give you proper 85, because the other thing too is the 85 ethanol is cheaper. So the more you mix it with the gasoline, the cheaper they can give it to you while also giving you less of a product. But at the same time, it's benefiting you because you're getting a higher octane and more ethanol content. It's like a trade-off. It's like they're being slimy, but it's actually proving to be useful for you.
Yeah.
So there's the trade-off there.
Well, and I think anyone, if you're watching and you can comment on this, especially if you've got a flex fuel car, you will see, if you're actually looking at the reading that you're getting from that flex fuel sensor, you'll see that it's not true E85 most of the time. Many cases it's not. And I'm on various Facebook groups and forums here locally, and that's a common question that comes up. Hey, are there any gas stations here that are like right at E85 or closer? And you'll usually get, a handful of people. Go to this one. Don't go to that one. Go try that one instead. So that is one thing to consider there. One of the things that I really love about ethanol, though, is the fact that it is it's a fuel source that we can create within the United States very easily with the agriculture setup that we have. America. But it is, though. It really is, because, we can grow it. We grow it with corn. We process it. We do all of that. That is a fuel source. And you can get into the renewability of it as well. There have been a lot of cases for that. There have also been some I've seen where, it's not as renewable as we thought. Well, the renewability of it, the notion that, okay, the corn grows and then you burn the fuel and then the carbon dioxide then feeds more corn, that whole cycle. It's debatable if that's truly as efficient as we think, but that's not my point. My point is just the fact that it's something that we can create in mass.
And we don't have to import it. I agree. Like I said before in like some of our last ones is, energy diversity.
Yeah.
Cannot be relying on just one source of energy and calling it good. Cannot just turn everything to EV. Can't just turn everything to gas. Can't turn everything to ethanol. Mm-hmm. But if we have that diversity, especially where we can proudly use more ethanol and we know it's made here, it's our money stays here.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we not doing that more?
And again, from the performance side of the coin too, it's great if you're turbocharged, if you're, high compression. I mean, there's a lot of performance reasons to like it, but there's also a lot of not performance reasons to like it as well. And again, people get hung up on the mileage. You're getting less mileage per tank. But when you look at the cost of that, you have to do the math. You have to evaluate this yourself. Is it worth it to you?
Are you trying to road trip your project car? I
don't own an EV.
You trying to go all across the states with your project car?
I don't own an EV, but I got a taste of what EV owner range anxiety feels like. Because I took the 86 a couple years ago on a road trip around the state, and I realized something. You can't get ethanol everywhere in the state. That's one thing I discovered, specifically in the really rural high mountain towns that have one gas station, and that gas station doesn't even have premium, let alone ethanol.
But that's the nice thing if you have a flex fuel content sensor.
Yes.
Because yes, you can drive and cruise on 93, whatever you can find locally, not a big deal. And then when you're somewhere where you can track or in a major city or metropolitan area, you can easily find an ethanol station. Definitely.
And again, to clarify, I had this problem because I didn't put a flex fuel sensor in. I just went full ethanol. I mean, let's just go 100%. Well, not 100% ethanol, but I mean 100% E85 is what I should say.
And that is a thing you can do. The other problem with that is then you have to test your gas. You have to look at your AFR. You have to be like, okay, looks like I am right about where I need to be, or I need a little bit more gasoline, or I need a little bit more ethanol.
You can do that, but also a sensor is like $40.
And yeah, the sensor makes it so easy.
And if you have a standalone already, specifically, for example, if you have a Russ EFI.
And there's literally not a standalone I know of that doesn't support flex fuel now.
I would say majority of them do. Again, clarifying, you're only using that standalone for off-road use. Again, to that one EPA Fed who's listening to the show.
We're definitely not road tripping our project cars.
We're figuratively road tripping
right?
it.
Yeah.
It's a figurative.
This is a what if.
Yes. Yeah. No, I road trip it, but on imaginary roads. That's what I do.
In my dreams, lucid dreaming.
Yeah, exactly. Or, it's because the car's on jack stands in the garage and it doesn't actually run. But
VR headsets.
Ooh, there we go. So, again, to the EPA guy, that's what we're talking about. Just being perfectly clear here. Now, that I think covers a lot with this fuel discussion here. A couple of numbers, by the way, that I was pulling up here online while we were talking. That lower gas mileage that you do get. So one of the numbers here with E10 already, which is what we're used to at this point. E10 has been the standard supply for a while. E10 has a 96.7%. It has 96.7% of the energy that 1 gallon of non-ethanol gasoline
so
has.
Let me take a guess. E15 is more like 94.
It's not much here. It says it's a 1.5 to 2% drop according to the EPA compared to the E10. So again, not a lot. I see a lot of people online blowing this up like it's a really big deal. It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
And if you want to feel like it's not a big deal, just go all in. Go all in. Go E85 then. See what it's really like. And you might like it, actually.
It's pretty nice.
I like it. I got a flex fuel sensor for the S2000. That's one of the things we got to wire into the standalone ECU and get that on ethanol, especially with these gas prices. I don't want to pay for premium right now. Come on. Are you kidding me? Not when E85 smells so good. Don't drink the E85. Just clarifying that. Don't do that. But now, Brian, I want to move on to something else here.
You don't want to talk about distilling E85 to drink?
Actually, so for a while we just had the EPA Fed. Now we got one of the ATF Feds too listening to the show. So
hey.
I'm guessing you're not here about the alcohol or tobacco. Anyway, so before we move on to that, I do have to mention something. We do have a sponsor on the show, SpyTech GPS. If you want to track your car, prevent auto theft, Colorado is one of the biggest hotbeds of auto theft, but it's happening all around the country. And you can protect your car, specifically protect yourself on the back end when something bad happens. Get yourself a SpyTech GPS tracker. I love these trackers. They're in all of my cars. They are fantastic. It's your own personal GPS tracker. It uses cell signal. It uses GPS together. So this is miles ahead of you just saying, I'll put an AirTag in it. And you need one of these trackers. You can use my promo code AutoADHD15. Get 15% off of anything in the SpyTech store, plus an additional 35% off when you use when you do a annual subscription, rather. And you can use AutoADHD15. The code is SpyTech, or rather the website is SpyTech, SPYTEC.com. Brian, do you hear that?
I do hear that. I think someone might be here.
Someone might be here.
Do you think he knows how to get in?
No, let's just keep doing the show and then see if he
walks in
or starts throwing pebbles at the glass. By the way, if you're confused, I think that does sound like it could be.
It sounded like your old car.
It did, and that would mean that it would be a Jim Miller.
That would be,
right? That would be a Jim Miller driving an A86 if I'm correct. Or he's driving his Mustang.
Oh, yeah, the Mustang.
The green one.
The 2.3 liter 4-cylinder Mustang.
Yeah, that Mustang. That we all love dearly.
He likes fuel efficiency.
He does.
He sips his coffee.
He does sip his ethanol.
His tea, actually. His tea.
Hey, we're going to keep this discussion rolling in the second half of the program. And if you don't want to miss that, that's going to be posted shortly here after this. And if you don't want to miss that, make sure that you are subscribed to the show wherever fine shows and, this one are downloaded. We're on Spotify. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and more. But we're focusing on that YouTube channel. So even if you listen to the show in other places, maybe you catch it on the radio. Yeah, we're a syndicated talk radio show in Southern Colorado. Well, you can support the show by going over to YouTube and subscribing to it there. Also, if you want a chance to win one of these cool More Cars Than Friends hoodies, yeah, check that out. That's the Jim Millerism we were talking about earlier on the show there. If you want to win one of these, send me an email, matt@automotiveadhd.com. Put in the subject line, I love Jim Miller's Mustang, or some other affectionate words towards Jim Miller's Mustang. It doesn't have to be that in particular. He absolutely enjoys this. He enjoys every single one of these emails that I show him, and you should definitely send that. And when you do, you'll be entered for a chance to win the hoodie. And if you also, I need you to send me a mailing address with it as well. Obviously, I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to sell your data. I'm not doing any of that. I just need to know where to send the stuff. So also put your mailing address in there and you'll be entered for a chance to win the hoodie, which that'll be picked at random. So it might just show up at your door here soon. And even if you don't win the hoodie, I am still sending out stickers and keychains to everyone who emails me. So you're going to get something out of it. Matt@automotiveadhd.com. Now, stick around for part 2. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you right here.